So, if you've ever bought a house, sold one, or heck, even just owned one, you've probably asked yourself the million-dollar question. And sometimes it's literally a million-dollar question. What is this place really worth? It sounds so simple, right? But the answer, well, it's a super fascinating puzzle. So today, let's pull back that curtain and decode what truly drives the value of a home. Right. So, where do we even begin? Is a home's value just locked into the price tag you paid for it years ago? Does that gorgeous new kitchen you just poured your savings into automatically add every single dollar back to the bottom line? Or is it something else, something a lot more complex? That's the big question we're going to tackle. Okay, the very first thing we got to do is get our words straight because in the real estate world, these three things, cost, price, and value, are totally different. Cost, that's what was spent in the past to build the property. Price is what someone actually pays for it today. But value, value is the interesting one. It's all about the future, the benefits you expect to get from owning that property. So get this, cost and price, those are facts from the past, but value is an opinion about the future. Which, begs the question, if value is just an opinion, how does anybody agree on a number? Well, that's where the pros come in. They have a whole formal process designed to come up with an objective, defensible opinion of what a property should be worth on the open market. And that process, it's called an appraisal. Now, an appraisal isn't a guess. It's not a hunch. It's a conclusion that's based on some serious research and analysis. It's not a crystal ball, Think of it more like being a financial detective for a house. And this is exactly what that detective is looking for, market value. Let's just quickly break that down. Most probable price means it's not a guarantee, it's what's likely. Competitive and open market means no sketchy secret deals. And it assumes the buyer and seller are both acting smart, with no one being forced into a bad decision. It's basically the gold standard for a fair deal. So to actually find that market value, appraisers have this, it's like a secret toolkit of fundamental economic principles. They're not just eyeballing the place, they're following a set of rules that guide their entire investigation. And this brings us to what is honestly the most important rule of all. It's called the principle of substitution. It's actually really simple. Imagine two identical houses are for sale, right next to each other, but one costs $50,000 less. Which one do you think sets the market value? The cheaper one, of course. I mean, why would you pay more for the exact same thing? You wouldn't. Nobody would. But substitution isn't a solo act. It's got a whole crew of other principles backing it up. You've got your classic supply and demand, lots of buyers and few houses means prices go up. There's contribution, which is all about figuring out if that new deck actually adds to the overall value. Highest and best use asks, what's the most profitable thing you could do with this land? And then there's conformity, the idea that a house that, fits in with the neighborhood is going to hold its value better. All right, let's dig into that idea of fitting in a little more, because it's a big one. We've all heard that advice, right? Buy the worst house on the best street. Well, that's a real thing. It's called the principle of progression. The nicer homes around you literally pull your home's value up. But the opposite is also true. That's regression. If you build a giant, beautiful mansion right next to a rundown factory, its value is going to get pulled down by what's around it. And this right here, this is the principle of contribution in a nutshell. You could go spend 50 grand on a fancy kitchen remodel and see maybe a $40,000 boost in your home's value. Cool. But you could also spend that same 50 grand on a swimming pool and maybe only see a $10,000 bump. The value isn't what it costs you. It's what the market says that feature contributes to the property as a whole. Okay, so we've talked about the house itself and we've talked about the immediate neighbors. But now we need to zoom way out. An appraiser's view is much, much bigger than that. They have to look at these massive external forces that shape an entire neighborhood or even an entire city. The pros actually break these down into 4 huge categories, and you can think of them like these giant currents in the ocean, always pushing and pulling your property's value around, whether you even notice it or not. First up, you've got physical forces. These are things you can literally see and touch. We're talking about a new train station going in down the street, the quality of the local schools, even just the general climate of the area. Then you've got social forces. Is the population in your city booming or shrinking? Are people's tastes changing? Maybe suddenly everyone wants to live near a park or a new bike trail. Those trends have a real impact. Next up are the economic forces. And oh boy, these are huge. If a big tech company opens a new headquarters and brings in thousands of jobs, You can bet home values are going to feel that. Same goes for things like interest rates and how much people are earning. And finally, there are the political or governmental forces. The local government can rezone the lot at the end of your street to allow for a huge apartment building. They can change building codes or raise property taxes. These decisions can seriously change your home's value, sometimes overnight. Okay, wow. So we've got the definitions, we've got the rules of the game, we've got these four giant forces pushing everything around. How in the world does an appraiser take all of that and turn it into one single number? Well, the end goal of all this work is something called the value conclusion. It's the final answer, the appraiser's best, most researched opinion of what that property is worth. And notice it says as of a specific date. That's key, because value can literally change from one day to the next. And the way they get to that final number is through a process called reconciliation. Basically, appraisers look at the property from 3 different angles. They look at comparable sales nearby, that's the market approach. They figure out what it would cost to rebuild the house from scratch, that's the cost approach. And sometimes they'll see what it could make as a rental, the income approach. And this is so important. They don't just average the 3 numbers. It's more of an art. They weigh all the data to come up with the single, most credible conclusion of value. And the whole story, all the data, all the analysis, how they used all those principles, the whole shebang, it all gets wrapped up and presented in a formal appraisal report. It literally tells you the complete story of how they landed on that final number. So there you have it. A home's value, it's so much more than just the price tag. It's this complex, living opinion, shaped by all these powerful rules and outside forces. So here's a thought for you. Now that you know these principles, the next time you walk down your street, look around with these new eyes. What do you see? A new park going in? A change in zoning laws? What hidden value, or maybe what hidden risk is waiting right there on your street?